Ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. We're on the second to last route. So far, we've had Rimi kill both Kozape and Senna. Is that her name? Aoi Senna. And as a result, she seems to have had a sudden case of amnesia to the point where she's kind of like childlike. And obviously that has suddenly sparked some weird thing in Takumi who's saying, hey, I could look after Rimi and this could be my life forever. Because, you know, he's a fucking weirdo. 40 seconds. I can say that. Hopefully. Alright, so we're going to find out what's going on in this route, whether Rimi's going to get her memories back, whether Takumi's going to have a change of heart on being an absolute creep. I mean, at this point, we are in the end game. So Takumi needs a bit of growth. I feel like he gets a little bit of growth at the end of each route, and then it kind of resets, which is a shame. I feel like it should carry on a little bit longer, but I suppose we're talking about almost a different Takumi, aren't we? Because every time the route resets, he's back to square one. But whatever. It would be nice to see a little consistency in the character's growth, or at least not introduce me to this kind of weird, creepy side to him again and again and again. But I'll drop that. Let's move on. Being honest with myself, Rimi was cute. She'd also said she would protect me, and I too wanted to stay with her. Forever if I could. But this was all fake. A lie. This life wouldn't last. This kind of thing is okay. And Rimi wasn't Rimi. Our time would be far too short-lived, far too fleeting. The thought of it made me feel sad, wistful, and empty. So he'd be fine with it if it carried on forever, her being like this. Come back. Oh, no, that's me. Rimi, come back, please. I couldn't help but whisper those words. You've got mail, you big dum-dum. I was taken by surprise. I'd heard Sarah Tan's voice come from my PC. I just received an email from somebody. Was it from Shogun? I had a bad feeling about this. This couldn't be good. I didn't want to look. Don't look at me. I felt the gaze. Someone was looking at me. It felt even more evident than usual. I looked around me, but there was no one beside me and Rimi in this room. My hand had stopped, and because of that, Rimi was fighting hard to try and wrestle a soba into her mouth. Oh yeah, she's having noodles. She wasn't looking at me, and I was feeding her because, you know, she can't even feed herself. Which meant that there was no one else it could have possibly been. I didn't even need to ask whose eyes are those eyes. Groaning, I headed for the PC and checked my inbox. It's Shogun. It only received one email, and the sender was Shogun. Ugh, shit. shit. Kind of responding in the same way. Oh, I forgot about this appointment. I should have been at the hospital ages ago. What was he plotting now? Was he going to kidnap Nanami for real this time instead of just faking it? Or maybe he was finally going to come and kill me directly once and for all. The fear made all my hair stand on end. The chills on the nape of my neck grew even stronger. I didn't feel any good, and my head was starting to hurt somewhat. Don't look at me. With trembling fingers, I clicked the mouse open. No, I clicked the mouse and opened the email. Oh. Huh. There was nothing written in it. It was only the subject line, which read Awaken. There was nothing written in the body. Awaken? What did he mean by that? Was he telling me to awaken as a Gilgamaniac? You had to be fucking kidding me. I had a feeling he'd said something similar the first time we'd met. Stop fucking with me! Is scaring me that much goddamn fun for you? I was angry, but at the same time I wanted to fend off the fear lurking deep inside me. I hit the keyboard hard with my hands. Static came from the speakers. I clicked something by accident. Oh, very loud. Wake time? Huh? I heard something. Mixed in with all that static, I'd heard something. I hurriedly checked my PC. The MP3 player wasn't running, and there weren't any videos playing in my browser. I thought maybe Shogun's email had included some kind of virus, but there were no files attached to it. Again, I'd heard it again. It was getting hard to breathe. Drops of sweat ran down my forehead. Oh, I could just turn off the sound. If I did that, I'd stop hearing this extremely weird static. I opened the sound settings on the bottom right corner with the mouse, then I checked the option to mute everything in the volume mixer. Once I did that, I wouldn't hear anything. I wouldn't have to listen to the static nor anything resembling a voice within the static. I was extremely tired, freaked out. But of course I was. It's only been 2 hours since 2 people I knew had died right in front of me. Not to mention the weird stuff I'd seen in the hospital when I'd gone to visit Ayase, or the strange calls from the Nami. So I had to just be mishearing something amid the static, right? Awaken. A voice. There's no time left. Was coming from the speaker. Soon, the third melt will occur. The third melt. I'd clearly heard it. It was him. That had been Shogun's voice. Oh, it was Shogun, okay. The same voice that had talked to me at the Scramble Crossing. Why? I muted it, didn't I? I know I did. Taku. What's a turd melt? Rimi acting just as she had been for the past couple of hours, tilted her head as she looked at me with innocent eyes. I came up close to her and grabbed her by the shoulders and shook them. Rimi, please, pull yourself together. Ow. That hurts. Say it. Say you'll protect me. I can't take this alone. At this rate, he's gonna kill me. Don't hurt me. I don't blame you for what happened. But if you're not there for me, I'm done for. So please. I don't like pain. Tears trickled down her face. I was scaring her. Every couple of seconds, her shoulders trembled. I slowly let go of her. Good call. Please. Wake up. Oh, earthquake time. Huh? The floor started shaking violently. An earthquake. It was bigger than the last one. Ah! Time to wake up. I was struck with a violent ringing in my ears. It was such an intensely shrill, resonant sound, my head felt like it was about to burst open. It felt like my ears were being pierced by thousands upon thousands of needles, as though my brain was being stirred into mush by a blender. And then... Every visual novel has like a reveal, preceded by a and then, or a but. I was hit by an enormous impact, and a blinding light dyed my vision completely white. I was awash with an elusive feeling of being immersed in lukewarm water. The waves gently rocked me back and forth as I drifted along its surface. As I slowly opened my eyes, a vibrant blue sky spread out before me. It feels almost like I could fall into it. It was a rather strange sky. The sun was nowhere to be seen. Even though I was supposed to be in my room, even though it was supposed to be nighttime. When could have I... No. That's not how you would say that, is it? When could I have possibly gone outside? When could it have possibly turned to day? With the last earthquake, I'd been out for more than an hour. Maybe this time I'd been unconscious for the entire night, I thought to myself. I remembered the earthquake's tremendous impact. Yet another elusive feeling hit me, like the tremors were resonating with the very blood coursing through my veins, threatening to burst open from the inside. Maybe this was heaven. Maybe I died in that earthquake. Heaven, huh. There was no way an otaku freak like me would go to heaven. That wasn't even mentioning how I haven't even been able to save my own little sister, how I'd been the worst possible brother to her, how I'd made Rimi kill Senna and Kozupe. Hell would be a far more fitting place for someone like me. Although obviously I'd chosen heaven if I could. I'd choose heaven if I could. My body didn't feel quite right. I was being overwhelmed by a sensation of walking on top of a fluffy cloud. I couldn't quite understand it. But regardless of how I felt, I forced myself to get up. The feeling of being rocked by the waves hadn't simply been my imagination after all. This was a world with a never-ending surface of crystal clear water. A world where no matter where I looked, blue filled my view. And I'd been right in the middle of it, lying down. Where was I? Was this really heaven? But I felt like I'd seen this scenery before. That sky. Where is it? Oh, someone else's voice was that. A voice resounded within my mind. A voice which rose from the depths of my memories. Right. I remembered now. I'd seen it in a dream before. Rimi had been there. I talked to her as she looked up at the blue sky, her face clearly one of holding back tears. Was I seeing the same dream as I had back then? But no matter where I looked, there was no one other than me. There was no one here, not even Rimi. It was far too reposeful. That's a new word for Gareth. Peaceful? Is that what that means? Repose. Reposeful. Yeah, that's what you say it. Having a calm and soothing quality. Peaceful. It was far too reposeful. Rimi? I tried calling her name, but my words were entirely mute, and yet, even without sound, they created ripples across the calm surface of water. Are you there? Sound was a series of vibrations, and those vibrations in turn created waves. Among those waves, just like I'd been a few moments ago, there was someone lying down. I stood up, my field of view expanded. The one drifting along the waves was Rimi. She was so unbelievably pale, she appeared as if she was dead. Her eyes were closed and both her hands were resting gently on her chest. And she simply stayed that way, facing up to the sky, not moving even a single inch. Is this supposed to be her consciousness, whilst Rimi is having this amnesiac... Amnesiac? Is that even a word? Moment? Rimi, wake up. Even though I called out to her, she didn't react. She was dead. I knew that for certain. Ain't that the truth? It wasn't just her. The world itself was dead. And so I just stood there not knowing what to do. Right at that very moment, Rimi's prone body gradually sank beneath the surface of the water. As soon as I realised what was happening, she was already completely submerged. How was I standing on top of the water at all, I wondered. Curious, I fixed my gaze below, not gazed, the water's surface. Beyond it, there was only darkness. The sky was so bright, and yet even though the water was so clear, below it there was only an eternal darkness that seemed to swallow all, and Rimi, still lying on her back, was slowly sinking farther and farther into its depths. I had to go after her. I needed to wake her up. But as soon as that thought crossed my mind, even though I had been able to stand on water until then, all support suddenly disappeared out from under me. Uh-oh. I sank and then drowned. My body grew heavier with each passing second. It was like I was underwater, but it wasn't as though I couldn't breathe. The water was very warm, too. I just wanted to drift within this comfortable sensation for all eternity. That was the way it made me feel. If I had to give an example, rather than ocean water, it was more like amniotic. Amniotic fluid. Oh, I see. Is that... Yeah, that's fluid of the womb. Oh, yeah, here we go. It does say that next. This very well might have been how a fetus felt inside its mother's womb. I thought the darkness continued forever, but in truth there was a bottom to it. It was so dark I couldn't even see my feet. I simply felt an odd, sticky sensation on my soles. I stood in the middle of the darkness. When I looked up, I found I could no longer see the surface. That blue sky, too, had been veiled completely by the darkness. The sole source of light was a single ray that descended down from above like a thin thread. Much like a spotlight would, it pointed to a single place. And yet, unlike a spotlight, there was nothing beneath it to be illuminated. It only lit up a meaningless spot. Nervously, I stepped into the light. It was ever so faint and gentle, but the moment I bathed in it, my chest began to ache. What was this sensation? It felt almost as if I could cry at a moment's notice, as if my heart itself was being rended. That was the sensation that overtook me. Where could Rimi be right now after sinking all the way down here? Relying on the faint light source alone, I made my way out from beneath the spot of light, beneath the spotlight, then searched the darkness. Soon my toes hit something soft and yielding. I kneeled down and this time tried touching it with my hand. What I felt was so cold, it was capable of freezing my very fingertips. Little by little, my eyes adjusted to the darkness, and before long I realized something. I was touching a person lying collapsed on the ground. Rimi. Wake up. I tried shaking her. Rimi, wake up. But there was no reaction. She wasn't breathing. Taking her feeble hand, I measured her pulse. She was dead. She had no pulse whatsoever. Dismayed, I strained my eyes to examine the surrounding darkness, only to find that she wasn't the only one. There's 3 Rimis. Countless other Rimis were collapsed on the ground, almost as if this place were a burial ground. And every single one of them was dead. This was a graveyard. The graveyard of her heart. That was how it felt to me. Suddenly, countless bubbles sprang forth before my eyes, and within each and every one of them, I could see different visions being displayed. An instinctive realization came to me, and I knew then that these were Rimi's dead memories. Are they all going to wake up? No. Who's this? Who do we think this is? Is this Rimi? Is it my first memory was one of a fallen rain, with gloomy leaden clouds overcasting the sky? How long ago had that been? It was around the time I was just an elementary schooler, maybe 6 years ago. It didn't matter when it had happened. My memories were not continuous. Oh no, maybe this is Takumi. In it, I saw my dad, whose head had been blown away, and my mum who'd been crushed completely by steel right next to me. Oh, I guess this must be Rimi. Because that's not Takumi's mum and dad. Even though only a moment prior we had all been celebrating inside the car, happy as could be about our family trip. Oh. An enormous truck had closed in on us, and before I even knew what was happening, the car I'd been in had completely flattened. Oh, this is interesting. Is this going to be related to the car crash that happened at the school? No, on the school trip. I'd then been struck by an intense pain and my consciousness began to grow blurry. Feeling as if my very body had been torn apart, the sharp squeal of brakes played an endless refrain from my ears. My next memory was of a radiant light shining down on an operating table, and a man's voice. I wondered how long, and I don't have to read that out in the weird voice. I wondered how long ago that was. It was right after losing my parents, maybe 5 years ago. It didn't matter when it happened. My memories were not continuous. I was told by a doctor. I was told by a doctor that you had seen something akin to a sword. Can you hear me? Something, San. Oh, so this is a mystery person. I had a feeling someone had called my name, but I could no longer recall what exactly that name was, for it was now a dead name. It seems as though your wounds have not yet healed. I imagine having your parents die before your very eyes must have been quite the shock. Well, I am more satisfied with only being heard. Oh, I'm more than satisfied with only being heard. I am Narose Genichi, the honorary director of this AH Tokyo General Hospital, as well as one of its sponsors. You are here because there exists the possibility of you being a giglomaniac. Interesting. And by all means, I wish for you to awaken to that power. Fortunately, you have no more existing relatives, so we should not experience any troublesome guests knocking at our door. Narose, remind me, is that the big bad guy? Is that... Yes, it is. Okay. And with that said, beginning today, you shall be treated as deceased. From this moment forward, you shall spend your days in this basement. Great. You needn't fret, no one knows of this room but I. So I beseech you, put your utmost into awakening. I have high hopes for you. Is Takumi going to be the one that saves her from the basement? You are a guinea pig, and I will take the full liberty of enacting various experiments on you in order to determine what is necessary to awaken the powerful unawakened. What a nice man. What's that? I continue to stare fixedly at the lights hanging from the ceiling, for I hated the dark more than anything. Oh, okay. My next memory too was of a radiant light shining down on an operating table and a man's voice. I wondered how long ago that was. Having been locked in the basement, I had lost all sense of time. It didn't matter when it had happened, for my memories were not continuous. Someone just whipped me. Ugh. Ah. Ah. How very perseverant you are, young lady. Your back is full of lacerations with blood pouring out in every direction imaginable, and yet you resist. Why is that? As I've told you many times, if you simply do away with this struggling and awaken, you will be at peace. Ugh. I'm starting to think that this Narase chap is not a cool guy. I continue to stare fixedly at the lights hanging from the ceiling. For if I did so, my vision would be rendered paralysed, and it would soon all be over with me without me having to see anything more. My next memory, too, was of a radiant light shining down on an operating table, and a man's voice. I wondered how long ago that was. Having been locked in the basement, I'd lost all sense of time. So this is the basement that we saw Suwa and whatever her name was, the one that is the actual serial killer. They kind of operate on the people that, like, you know, putting the baby inside the other man and stuff like that. That happened here, it seems, right? It didn't matter when it had happened, for my memories were not continuous. Ooh. Is it painful? I'm merely cutting the surface of your skin. As much as it will bleed, it will not be enough to kill you. If we leave it untreated for 3 days, it will suppurate, and then the itching should begin in earnest. That is when the real experiment begins. But please, worry not. I am a doctor, and one that is more than capable of handling a scalpel. Let's see. About 10 locations should suffice. Ah! So Narase is a doctor. Did we know that already? I continue to stare fixedly at the lights hanging from the ceiling. For if I did so, my vision would be rendered paralysed, and it would soon all be over without me having to see anything more. My next memory too was of a radiant light shining down on an operating table and a man's voice. Same thing again, I wondered how long ago that was. Having been locked in the basement, I'd lost all sense of time. It didn't matter when it had happened. My memories were not continuous. Are all the girls gonna be Rimi's split personality or something? No, that can't be right, can it? Itchy. Itchy, so itchy. Is that so? Does it itch? So, well, I'm afraid that despite this affliction, you may not scratch it. The ultimate torture. Itchiness. Itch. Itchy. Humans are quite the interesting creatures. They can handle pain to a surprising extent, but the same does not apply to any form of itching. Is that true? That's weird. To this end, rather than pain, utilizing itching may prove far more effective for shattering one's psyche. Itchy, 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 itchy! I continued to stare fixedly at the lights hanging from the ceiling. For if I did so, my vision would be rendered paralysed and it would soon all be over without me having to see anything more. And then, I killed my own self. Okay, cool. What do you mean? My next memory too was of a radiant light shining down on an operating table, and a man's voice. I wondered how long ago that was. Having been locked in the basement, I'd lost all sense of time. It didn't matter when it had happened. My memories were not continuous. I see what's happening here. Ah! Ugh! Oh! I suppose this constitutes a comminuted fracture of the upper left arm. To think you still have yet to awaken, what could I possibly be missing? We shall leave today's experiment here. Please, rest well in my absence. Yeah, thank you. You've made me comfortable. We can escape. We've got to escape. We've just got to escape. I continued to stare fixedly at the lights hanging from the ceiling. For if I did so, my vision would be rendered paralysed, and it would soon all be over without me having to see anything more. And then I killed my own self. Again. My next memory, too, was of a radiant light shining down on an operating table and a man's voice. I wondered how long ago that was. Having been locked in the basement, I'd lost all sense of time. This is driving me mad. It didn't matter when it had happened, for my memories were not continuous. Oh, waterboarding, wow. Jesus Christ. Waterboarding is a form of torture the CIA used up until very recently. It is the most simple and effective technique to best cause great distress in your subjects. With just a small amount of water, it's possible to afflict you with the illusion that you're drowning. Despite it originating quite a long time ago, this classic method of torture is still used today in the 21st century. Don't you find that rather fascinating? I continued to stare fixedly at the lights hanging from the ceiling. For if I did so, my vision would be rendered paralysed and it would soon all be over without me having to see anything more. And then I killed my own self. I don't know why it says my own self, by the way. Give me it again. My next memory too was of a radiant light shining down on an operating table and a man's voice. I wondered how long ago that was. Having been locked in the basement, I'd lost all sense of time. It didn't matter when it happened, for my memories were not continuous. Despite this being my first time administrating anesthesia, I would say it went quite well. How do you feel, in a state of paralysis from the neck down? My God. Not being able to freely move one's body can lead to an accumulation of stress I'm sure you can imagine why this might be. To begin, let's try having you remain in this state for about a year. I'll be nourishing you daily via IV, so fear not. Well then, I wish you a wondrous year. Is it possible this is Takumi that we're talking about? Is it Takumi? I continue to stare fixedly at the lights hanging from the ceiling. For if I did so, my vision would be rendered paralysed and it would soon all be over without me having to see anything more. It could be that it's Takumi. It kind of makes sense. But I'm going to keep on using the Rimi voice because, you know, that's fun. As I remained there, I felt like I saw something amid the white light, something that looked almost like a pair of wings. And then I killed my own self. My next memory was a radiant light above an operating table and nothing more. I wondered how long ago that was. Having been locked in the basement, I'd lost all sense of time. It didn't matter when it happened, for my memories were not continuous. No matter how many times I called out, no one came for me. Nothing moved, and I couldn't move anything, not even a twitch of a finger. I simply stared vacantly at the light hanging from the ceiling. There was nothing else I could do. As I remained there, I felt like I saw something amid the white light, something that looked almost like feathers fluttering about. And then I killed my own self. How many more times? How many more times are you going to do this to me, Narose? Okay. My next memory too was of a radiant light above a operating table and nothing more. I wondered how long ago that was. Having been locked in the basement, I'd lost all sense of time. It didn't matter when it had happened, for my memories were not continuous. No matter how many times I called out, no one came for me. Nothing moved and I couldn't move anything, not even a twitch of a finger. I simply stared vacantly at the light hanging from the ceiling. There was nothing else I could do. As I remained there, I felt like I saw something amid the white light, something that looked almost like feathers flutting about. And then I killed my own self. This is kind of like a poem, isn't it? Where I keep on revisiting this sentence. My next memory was of a radiant light shining down an operating table, and a man's voice. Oh, and a man's voice. I wondered how long ago that was. Having been locked in the basement, I'd lost all sense of time. It didn't matter when it had happened, for my memories were not continuous. What a truly hideous sight. You spent one entire year's time lying there. How do you feel? Covered in your own feces, reduced to nothing but skin and bones, and robbed of your very dignity. How does this all make you feel? That's what I ask. I mean, I think that this has to be Takumi. It makes sense that this is Takumi, doesn't it? Doesn't it, folks? Though I must say, please worry not, I will not kill you. It's been out there... It's been over 3 years since this experiment began. I've grown so immensely fond of you I can hardly contain myself. You're an irreplaceable subject to me. Forcibly awakening a giglomaniac is extremely difficult and takes quite a long time. Even still, I need you to awaken quickly. I have high hopes for you, something-san. I continue to stare fixedly at the light hanging from the ceiling. For if I did so, my vision would be rendered paralysed, and it would soon all be over without me having to see anything more. As I remained there, I felt like I saw something amid the white light, something that looked almost like feathers fluttering down together with a pair of wings. And then I killed my own self. What number was my current self? Ooh, we're getting a chance to sing. That's enough. Make it stop, please. To think there was such a tragic past behind Rimi's smile. I took one of Rimi's corpses that was lying on the ground and brought it close to my chest. It was terribly cold and I could tell it was devoid of a soul. But even so, I needed her. I want you here with me, Rimi. I then wished and crafted a delusion. Wake up. Please, wake up, Rimi. You're the only one who can save me. I know this is selfish of me, but I need you to protect me. I know this is presumptuous of me, but even though I'm a total loser, I feel like I can change if I'm with you. So please, wake up, Rimi. Alright. She just suddenly wakes up. The next thing I knew, I found myself in the blue-filled world once again. Waves ran across the surface of water, and then slowly rising up from the depths were countless Rimis. Every one of them had their eyes closed and were standing still as could be on top of the water. Eventually they started moving. However, they didn't do so without using their legs, but simply glided across the water. One Rimi then overlapped with another, and that same one overlapped with yet another one. But they're all going to merge into one. The Rimis were merging together. Dumbfounded, I just stood there and watched. Eventually, there were only 4 of them left. Then 2. And then 1. And then the last 2 Rimis slowly melded together and became one. Her eyes opened. And then she looked at me. Could this Rimi have been the one I knew? That Rimi? Or was it an entirely different one? I didn't know. I was afraid to call her name, so I waited for her to say something. But instead of speaking, she showed me a warm smile. Hiya. Fishy. Raising her hand to her head, she struck her usual pose. Rimi? Oh, hello, Mummy ASMR. Thank you for following. Is it really you? Yeah. Rimi nodded and then she embraced me. I buried my face in her chest. The feeling of her soft, supple breast spread across my cheek. Oh, god damn it. Okay. Gravity soon disappeared and the 2 of us began drifting along the blue. You think that Takumi grows for a second and then he goes and proves you wrong. I heard your voice, Taku. Wake up, Rimi. You cried out to me. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. With her still lying on the ground, Rimi held me as she gently stroked my hair. I couldn't describe how wonderful that felt. It was as if the very essence of all her kindness and warmth was enveloping me. It reminded me of how I felt when my mum hugged me back when I was a kid. How safe I'd felt in her arms. I wanted to stay like this forever, but at the same time I wanted to confirm for myself that she really was Rimi. So I turned my head just enough to look at her face. Are you crying? For me? Haha, you're such a crybaby, Taku. Even with that horrific past behind her, she still had the brightest smile. I remembered everything, you know. All the countless things I erased by killing my own self so many times before now. So that is what Rimi did, it wasn't Takumi. Okay, cool. But I wonder if it'd be easier if I didn't remember. Rimi? Rimi, despite looking like she was about to cry, still made an effort to show a smile. She entwined her fingers with my hair. Hey. Who's that, Rimi or me? You want a kiss? Huh? A kissing? Before I knew it, my chin had forcibly been raised slightly, my captivating aroma filled me, and something warm and tender pressed up against my lips. Right before me was her face. Her eyes were closed, I could feel her soft breaths. So this was a kiss. So sweet and so pleasant, it felt like my brain itself was turning to mush. from just a kiss alone. My heart was filled with love for her. An otaku freak like me depended on her so, yet even still desired her everything. Hey Mum and Dad, how did you meet? Well, that's a long story, son. It all starts with a shipping container. I closed my eyes and engraved that sensation in my memories. And a serial killer called Shogun. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my room. Rimi was lying down on the floor with me still in her embrace. Slowly she parted from my lips. I'm back. Yeah. Rimi was acting shy. Something I found incredibly cute. Our eyes met. The two of us were blushing hard. Had girls' bodies always been this soft? Huh. 3D for the win! Finally, even I got a real girlfriend. Even I got a real girlfriend. Nobody would ever call me an unpopular otaku freak ever again. Well, let's not go that far. We haven't necessarily got a girlfriend, Takumi. I did promise that I'd protect you after all. You'll protect me? I will. I'll protect you, Takumi. And Nana-chan. What was she trying to say? Ignoring my confusion, Rimi averted her gaze from me and looked up at the ceiling. Before, I had Takumi save my art. And now, I've had Taku rescue my art. So this time, I'll be the one who protects you two. I still don't understand what she meant by Taku and Takumi. But what I did know was that if she was there to protect me, I wouldn't need to worry about anything anymore. She was a gigglemaniac and she would keep me safe. No matter what Shogun had asked her to do, she'd be able to pull it off. As long as I was with her, that'd be enough for me. I'll try my absolute hardest. I'll try my hardest to atone for my sins, but also to return the favour I owe you both. Atoning for her sins? Was she talking about what she'd done to Senna and Kozupe? Or that had been legitimate self-defense? She hadn't had a choice, and that that should have been how she thought about it. But what felt far more strange to me was how she'd said you both. Who else did she mean? Sir, I need you to sleep for now, Taku. I could feel the vibrations coming from her body at her every word. Even now, her fingers were still stroking my hair. I felt so at peace, and so very sleepy. Reveling in the happiness of falling asleep in her arms, I closed my eyes. Boom. By the time Sakihata Rimi left the container, the world around her had changed beyond recognition. A city of death. That was the most fitting description. Countless buildings littering her surroundings had collapsed, and those that had avoided such a fate had deep cracks ripping through them. The third melt. I never would have thought it'd be this huge. We're too late. Hirose Genichi moved no other second into full-scale operation earlier than expected. Is that me or is that her? I didn't see her lips move. Oh, it's him. Following that voice, a boy on a wheelchair appeared before her. This old building was not wheelchair accessible, and yet despite the fact that it should have been impossible for someone in a wheelchair to ascend to the roof on their own, there he sat. But Rimi showed no signs of being surprised by his appearance. It looks like you've returned to your former self. There's no such thing as my former self. It's more like I'm back to the person that Taku wished for. And the fact that Taku did wish for me to come back, I can't explain how happy it made me. He used his power without a D-sword again. If we push him just a little bit further, he could awake. It's okay. You can leave Taku alone. Cutting his words short, Rimi spoke with an intense conviction. I'll take care of no other second. I'll save Nana-chan. And I'm not going to let you die either. You can't face Narose alone. And as I've been saying for so long, you deserve a normal life. Well, here's the thing. I made a promise with Taku. Looking up to the overcast clouds, Rimi gave a fleeting smile. I promised I'd protect him. So I gotta go. Bishi. Rimi! Walking past the boy in the wheelchair, Rimi proceeded down the stairs, and the boy decided not to follow her, or rather being unable to, sank deeply into his wheelchair and let out a great sigh. You're planning to sacrifice yourself, Rimi. Looking very stern. And we're going to see next time on Borderline Games exactly how Rimi's going to sacrifice herself to save the world and save Taku and save Takumi. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head, and I will see you next time. Have a great evening. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye-bye-bye-bye-bye.